Welcome to Liquid Lunch, coming at you on the 20th. Is it the 20th today, Natalie?
All day.
Wait, did you just make that up? That's so funny. Get out. All day?
Yeah.
Okay, the 20th. Okay, all right. 20th of October. How are you doing, Natalie? It's been a while since I've seen you on the show. Hasn't it? It's been a couple weeks. Come on, you're too far from the mic.
How's building that deck going?
The deck is coming along. We didn't get it finished last night. It was late. We'd worked for 12 hours. It was cold. It was dark.
It was dark.
We were starting to make foolish mistakes.
Such as?
Putting the wrong color deck on.
What
It was at that moment that we said, well, we're going to stop working now, and we're going to...
What color is the deck?
It's white. You see, what it is, it's this new deck lock stuff. Mm-hmm. It's plastic, basically, right? It's not wood, but it lasts a lot longer. And it's kind of tricky the way you have to put it together and stuff like that. But it comes in two colors. It's white on one side and sort of a beige on the other.
So you should have multicolor.
Yeah, but you don't want to have it all white and then start going multicolor at the end, right?
That's your opinion. That's your opinion. How do you know other people won't like it that way?
Well, you're a real estate person. You should know more than anybody, right? Like,
right.
You'd probably be able to sell that deck no problem. Right?
So finish the deck and then we'll sell the house. And we'll bring him closer
I don't
here.
want to sell the house. It's my dad's deck. It's the house I grew up in.
Don't you?
I don't want that house to be sold.
It's priceless.
It's sentimental.
Right.
You know?
Okay, we'll sell your neighbor's house instead.
They just got their driveway paved.
So that's a good sign.
Yeah, it's going to increase the value, right?
And your value as well.
Right. So we better get busy. We got a big show. Hey, it's only noon. We started early today. What do you think of that, Natalie?
That's like once in a lifetime. I don't know when that will happen
wait,
again.
before we get into it, what's going on with the real estate market? You had 2 closings last week, I understand. Mm-hmm. That's really good, isn't it?
It's always good.
The market's picked up, hasn't it?
It's been good for a long time now.
Okay.
Okay.
What else is new?
That's about it. Just waiting to get the guests on for today. We have a good guest lineup.
Come on, stop it with the banter. Let's get down to the guests. Yes, we have Michael Ballard here. He's going to be talking about resiliency. Resiliency. You are a resilient person, Natalie, aren't you? Yes, you are.
I don't even know what that means.
Well, we're going to find out in a couple of minutes because Michael is coming on the show. Then you'll know exactly how resilient you are. Also, Jim Padjamtsis will be here talking about stuff for small business. I don't know the details, but he's coming back. He's been here before.
What did he talk about last time?
I don't...
Okay.
You know, I can't always remember.
I know.
There's so many guests that come through here. Sometimes it's just too much. If not always too much. But too much is never enough. Okay. Then we have Elliot Grove. He's the founder and perhaps director of the Rain Dance Film Festival. He's going to be calling in from London, England. Have you ever been to London, Natalie?
You should know the answer to that. Yes.
What? I should?
Yeah, because we already talked about that.
It's another conversation just come and gone. I don't remember that conversation. I'm sorry to say.
I've been to Germany as well.
Germany.
Well,
speaking of Germany, the guest after that will be Dr. Katarina Kettner, who's here in Canada doing a study of Canadians. And apparently she's come to some interesting conclusions. Also, we'll be talking about Theodore Adorno, the man who really wrote all the Beatles songs as an effort to warp the youth of the world, which is what's been happening. Right? No? Oh, we're going to find out at a little after 1. Then Leslie Dean will be here, and Nikki. What's Leslie's story again?
CNIB.
CNIB.
Yeah.
You know what that is?
Institute for the...
That's right, the Canadian National Institute for the Blind. So they will be here at 1:30. So it's a very interesting show today. So let's take a little break. What do you think, Natalie? A little break?
Small one.
Okay, small break, and we're going to come back with Michael Ballard right after this, talking about resiliency on Liquid Lunch, thatchannel.com.
It's a song. The song is called "Behind You." It's from our EP release in 2006. So.
Yeah, the bonus CD.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
It's acoustic.
Okay, so we're back here on Liquid Lunch. We got Michael Ballard here. Michael, would you call yourself a consultant or
coach, consultant, trainer? Depends on the application. If you're talking to the owner of a company and he wants to roll something out, you're consulting. If you're actually doing it with them, then you're with a group. It's training. If it's one-on-one, it's coaching. So.
And we're talking about resiliency.
Yes.
So are you the resiliency guru, would you say?
Well, I'm definitely on a list, I'm told. Resiliency is how do you choose to deal with adversity, and some people don't know they have a choice. So resiliency is about your beliefs and values, about when you're stuck, when you're in pain, when something overwhelming, a tsunami of something has knocked you over.
Okay, so let's talk about that.
Okay.
First of all, how did you come to the point where this is your work in life?
Well, a long time ago, I had a off-again, on-again 7-year battle with cancer. So I noticed that there wasn't a lot of positive asset skills, or not a lot of positive things to help you when you deal with adversity available in the marketplace. So, being the entrepreneur that I am, after I recovered, I said, what does the research say? And the research on mental health, productivity, and sales, they all came back to some key skills. And I went, that's really interesting. In all my education, formally, informally, corporate world, personally that I sought out, I've never found this delivered in a business manner, because this was the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, it would be interesting if people could get this in a way that was easy to understand, so that we could talk about it with 4-year-olds and 34-year-olds and 94-year-olds. So I set out on an adventure to boldly design some models to help people become more resilient. So
Okay, so let's, I mean, it makes sense that, you know, when people encounter problems all the time.
absolutely.
Like Natalie here, she's overcome a lot of problems.
Nothing like hanging you out to dry, Natalie. Now you're supposed to share. It's like a co-host. You've got a problem with a co-host that hangs you out to dry on occasion, right?
Yeah.
So how do you choose to
How are
respond?
you going to bounce back from this one?
I would love to hear how.
Well, you could take it personal, or is it just friendly banter, and he's just testing you to see how do you raise to the occasion when he hangs you out to dry.
Probably the second one.
So partly it's a choice. It's your belief systems that people are either out to get you and life's out to get you, which is a negative asset approach. But according to Dr. Helmstetter out of the U.S., that's 81% of us when something negative happens, small or large.
Yeah.
You know, on the way to work, you get a flat tire and you're running late and you're already on probation because of a large mistake you made. Do you see the flat tire as a test? Oh, I wonder how fast I can do this? Or do you see it as I just give up? Why don't I just go home, go back to bed, and find another job? I'm not to say which one's right, which one's wrong, but resiliency says, let's see how fast I can change this tire and still get there and keep my sanity. So,
Okay. I think we've all, I don't know about all of us, I've certainly had those days where stuff like that happens and you just feel like going, that's it. I want to go back to bed. That's it. I give up.
we're done.
Yeah. How do you, you know, what is the key thing that allows a person to go from that kind of mindset to one where he's going to bounce back?
Well, the researchers tell us that there's several different ways to do this. The one process that I've been reading about a lot recently is called learned optimism. So years ago, I started calling myself a realistic optimist. And it was like, people would say, what do you mean a realistic optimist? I said, well, you know, I'm in sales, and that client over there that he won't deal with us. In fact, he's so mad, he told me that if you come back, I'll charge you with trespassing. Because 30 years before me, somebody did him wrong in our industry. That's it. No more of your type in my store. So, okay, you could take that as a flat-out no, or you can go, if I talk to as a retail, talk to his head cashier, and next time come around the back and talk to his head person in charge of shipping and receiving, and over the course of a couple of years, turn them into acquaintances. I'll eventually find out what his business needs are currently and how we can help solve them. And 4 years later, we had 100% of his business in the category I represented, because I didn't take his no, go away forever as a no, go away forever. Resilient people tend to see no as a challenge about how do I get past this?
So some people are going to be naturally resilient. I
Yeah,
would think,
absolutely.
And other people are going to be naturally not too resilient.
To be less resilient in different categories. So there's
Yeah.
two things to be aware of with resiliency is your capacity and the breadth of your capacity. So maybe you're physically resilient. As a cancer survivor, found out I was pretty tough and tenacious, and to the point where the mental health people said, you know, you're awfully happy for a guy that's got cancer that spread. So, well, you know, done heavy lifting, now it's time to fight. But then there's people who go, they can do that in all categories of their life. A bankruptcy, a death, a divorce, and they just roll on. So some of us have very narrow limits and capacities, and that's great, and some of them have it in wide. And my goal is to help people have wider areas where they can be more resilient. So whether it's financial, personal relationships, physical, mental health, I don't help them finish it, I help them get started and find the resources they need to find. So sales was where I was very resilient.
So, you know, it's kind of like, this is where we get into, this is like self-help, or this is like a person changing, or, you know, adapting. And I guess adapting is part of what resilience
Absolutely.
is, right?
Absolutely.
But if they're not so resilient to begin with, and we're trying to take them from that state to a point where they're more resilient,
Then you have to get them to look at their belief systems. So if I showed up here today and decided the guy that wears suit jackets but don't wear ties aren't formal enough for me, I'd have been in trouble.
Natalie thinks that's funny.
You know, I don't know. I'm not saying it's my belief systems, but,
Right.
you know, I mean,
Yeah.
one of my relatives that used to think if you had hair that touched your shoulders were longer, you were very, very professional if you were a man. It was like, it's just hair.
Yeah.
As long as you wash it once a month, I don't care.
That's why the mullet was invented.
Ah, is that how it is?
Yeah.
Okay. So belief systems are very big in resiliency. You know, victim, victor. It's okay to visit the victim side because
Yeah.
life can be very overwhelming, but living there is lousy and the outcomes are lousy. And so to be resilient means that you have a realistic foot on the ground and you understand that what the negative implications are, what's going on. But then the optimist kicks in and said, but what if I stretch? Viktor Frankl in his book Man's Search for Meaning in the 40s, after living in a concentration camp as one of the forced people there, but had a doctorate in psych, said, you know, I noticed that some people shrank under the circumstances and some people stretched. And the people that stretched actually were happy despite 400 calories a day and some terrible circumstances. He said, I'm all for stretching. It's not always fun, but it makes a difference. So resiliency is about how you help people stretch.
Okay. So let's talk about that. What,
Okay.
You know, what does that stretching look like? For
So-
people out there right now, like, for example, actually, before we get into that, like, for people, can we give them a little bit of an idea?
Absolutely.
If they- right now, a little checklist. Am
Okay.
I? How resilient am I?
Certainly. Certainly. You'd know you're not feeling as resilient as you might be if you feel a little helpless and hopeless. If getting out of bed is taking longer than it should have. One of my friends had 2 alarm clocks, and each alarm clock had 2 wake-ups. So it started off on the gentle, then it went to the radio, and then it had the loud radio, and then he had what he called the nuclear alert alarm. And he said it took all 4 of them over 40 minutes to get me out of bed at one point for several months. Because he said I was just too down and out, unemployed. He said I could have written a country song.
That is
Nobody
depressing.
loves me, nobody cares. And so feeling helpless and hopeless is not nice to be there, but it's normal. It's a question of recognizing that you're there, and do you feel angry, do you feel sad, and then is this the blues, in which case you can take care of this yourself, or do you need to use one of the game show lines, do you need to call a friend? Do you need to ask for a lifeline? Do you need to pick up the phone and dial? Do you need an intervention? And there's different types of interventions. There's the, what are you doing later? Can we go for coffee and chat? Want to pick your brains? I'm stuck in a rut on this issue. There's a, I need a good laugh. What are you doing Thursday night? Can we go out and have a beverage? Or there's the, you know, you went some big stuff. Who was that mental health care professional you used to go see? So there's different ways to tune up your situation.
Yeah.
So you know you're stuck if you've been going on for more than a few days. And then also there's that outward. If you're in the blame game, if only the radio host had worn a tie. If only I had not got lost on the way here, it would have all gone better. So that's to know you're stuck, and that's not nice, but it's normal and you can do things about it. Whereas being resilient means I may or may not have created my current situation, but I accept it. So now, what do I need to do to master it? What skills do I currently have? What skills do I need to get? And what lifelines do I need to kick into place? If it's an out-of-work situation, who do I call to support me? Physically, moral, intellectually, socially. Because not one friend can do it all. Not one business acquaintance can do it all.
Like, how do you know? It almost sounds like some of this could be depression. You know, if somebody's depressed.
Yes.
And you know, I mean, people are still arguing: is that an illness, or is it just an overenthusiastic pharmaceutical industry, or what? And
Well, I
I'm not
don't.
asking you to weigh
No,
in
I'm
on
not
that.
pretending to be an expert in it, but I'd say, having had friends in different stages, it can be situational.
Yeah.
Because something large happened, death of a spouse, loss of a career. There's a whole lot of things, or it can be biological, brain chemistry. Could be a combination of 2. I'm sure there's other reasons. Again, I don't pretend to be an expert at it. But resiliency, they've proven, has even helps people that are depressed, helps stabilize them. Doesn't replace therapy, but it helps stabilize them because it gives them a set of skills to start to practice. We know that people who practice what's called mindfulness, being in the moment, yes, you have a co-host, yes, she's smart, charming, but right now I'm talking to you, so she's there, but I'm in the moment with you.
Right.
If I was distracted by her, then I'd be sort of talking to you, but I'd be, he's over there. So how are you today? What'd you drive down with? Where do you live? And so mindfulness is about being in the moment, calming your mind, staying focused, and we know it pays big dividends. It actually has been proven with MRI scans and extensive research to change brain function. It improves cognitive ability, decision making.
Okay, so mindfulness, and that's, I guess, that one of the strategies.
That's one of the skills.
Helps people be more resilient.
To be more resilient. It also increases communications.
Well, it's one of the great things that really, that's what we should all be.
Oh, in a perfect world, yes. Yeah. And of course, we'd come to a world of 20-second sound bites, and so we're going exactly the opposite direction. And yet I'm getting corporate clients saying, my sales force seems to be a little unfocused. Mm-hmm. And yet, one Salesforce gave all their Salesforce pagers, cell phones, and wireless free roaming laptops. And if they didn't get you on the cell phone, it meant to page you immediately, and they immediately then pinged your laptop with an email saying call. So I was actually meeting some of their salespeople saying, what's it like these days? And the guy got a call, a beeper, and his laptop within 30 seconds went ping to indicate he had an email. It had a special sound. It was only from head office. It was like, how is this person supposed to stay focused?
Yeah.
You've got him on such a short leash. You pay him $80,000 a year to be a high-end professional. Then you treat him like a rookie. So.
Well, okay. So let's getting back to resiliency.
Yes.
Like, who should be interested in it? I guess any individual who's maybe feeling, I don't know, any individual. What about companies?
Well, companies are interested because it helps with staff retention, helps with staff productivity, because again, resiliency is about not sweating it. Mm-hmm. I got to work with a guy behind his back. We used to call him the Teflon man, because $20 problem, a $5 million problem. Oh, define it. How was it caused? Let's analyze it. What are potential solutions? Meanwhile, at 23, I was going, well, let's stay tonight and let's brainstorm. Let's just get a solution. He'd go, no. On your paycheck, is there a piece that said worry? No. I get paid to be really effective and get results. Mm-hmm. But nobody pays me to worry. Nobody pays me to stay up and work overnight unless there's lives at stake. So don't sweat it. So Randy was one of the most resilient people I ever met in the workplace, because he got all his solutions done. Mm-hmm. And yeah, he worked long hours when it had to be done. But if it was something that he couldn't fix between 5 p.m. and 8 a.m., why would you worry? Why would you stay? Mm-hmm. Just go home, sleep on it, mm-hmm. get up, well-rested, exercise, diet, visit friends, whatever off hours, and come back to work and plow ahead on it, and we'll get it done. So he was my first resilient person I met that was Mr. Cool, mm-hmm. under pressure. Mm-hmm. So it helps with focus. It also helps with how people perceive you individually and corporately. Mm-hmm. If you fall into a flap every time there's an issue, the drama queen label starts to come out after a while.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what would you recommend for people that are out there right now thinking, maybe I should be a little bit more resilient? Like, what would you suggest for people to, move in that direction?
Well, there's several things, and if you feel completely lost and hopeless, then I think that it's good to go to a mental health clinic, go to a website and check to see if their self-analyzing tools will tell you you have depression and you need a professional. And there's no shame to go in for what I call a checkup from the neck up, or go for a tune-up if you go for longer sessions. But if you're just stuck in a rut, have the blues, then it's acceptance. I'm stuck in a rut. What do I need? So then comes what in resiliency terms is the self-audit, the inward audit. Diet, exercise, hydration for people not watching but listening. I've lifted up my glass of water. Those are basics. But for the rest is, who do I need to be in touch with? Mm-hmm. I talked to somebody who's been out of work for 2 years, and I said, so how many job search clubs have you been to? Oh, for the first year, I was out 4 days a week looking. But then search fatigue set in. He made it sound like a communicable disease. Search fatigue set in, and then, oh, man, I dropped back to 3 a week, and then 2 a week, and then I started getting a little short of cash, and it cost money to park. And so then it was 1 a week, and then it was just phoning in, and I haven't seen anything and done anything for 90 days. Oh, and how's that working for you? So I said, how about the bus? How about phoning and seeing you can share a ride? These are real basics, but it's amazing when we're stuck how we don't see the basics. Mm-hmm. The other thing, too, and it sounds simple, but do you have a library card? The wealth, for people in the Greater Toronto area of Canada, there's 99 libraries. 99. There's an incredible number of videos and audios and books that can help you with a piece of your resiliency, whether it's exercise, diet, the mental piece. So with the self-audit, it's a place to start. How have you chosen to define yourself in this situation? Do you have the problem, or does the problem have you? And initially, it's okay to have the problem have you. Not nice, whether it's an illness, a relationship, a career. But then quickly, how can I own the problem instead of the problem own me? So self-definition with this issue, or others call it disidentification. Another one is framing. How do I choose to see this? It goes back to the bitter better. If I'm bitter about these things that happen, I got cut off in traffic by somebody who came up on the shoulder of the 401. I was only doing 100 and mumble kilometers an hour, but it wasn't fast enough to pass the convoy of trucks in a 2-lane part of the 401. So somebody actually pulled onto the shoulder and passed me. I was in the fast lane doing 100 and something kilometers an hour, officer, but it wasn't fast enough for this gentleman in the green van, so he must have gone past me at 160. Well, my first response was testosterone. Idiot, could have killed me. And wait a minute, why am I speeding up? What will that prove? Slow down, be calm, be cool, be the man you want to be, not the... So reframing is big because it helps us master moments and big picture.
Okay. So who should, like, how do people... Obviously, this is a service you provide.
Yes,
this is what
absolutely.
Your business is. So, like, who's out there right now? Who should be getting in touch with you, and how does that work?
Organizations hire me because if it's an association, they hire me because their membership says they're stressed at work, their productivity is dropping off, they're not happy with their career these days, their personal life, they're feeling stretched. And then companies call me because morale issues in the workplace, productivity mistakes, and generally they want their staff to be more productive and happier. I've got one large group talking about having me come in and only do workshops for chronically ill, because chronically ill people who practice resiliency skills typically have a fifth less symptoms, and they're 30% cheaper to medically take care of. So it's about ownership. Resiliency in the end is owning where you're at and then asking yourself, what can I do, and then reaching out to others and saying, who do you know, where can I go to get help? Or if they need a quote on their house to sell it.
So what about individuals?
Individuals,
Just,
yes,
you know,
we
maybe
do.
not
Well, we
so
do.
resilient.
We do coaching. Right now, I have a 5-year-old client, and Daddy ran off to join the circus, which is my polite terms for Daddy's behavior. And so he only gets to see his son once every few weeks. And this little boy's lonely, angry, and upset, and taking it all out on Mummy, who Mummy finally put up some guidelines and said, "No, sorry, Daddy, you crossed the line too many times. You don't get to play in Mummy's sandbox anymore. You're on your own." So little boy's understandably mad. Trouble is, he's taking it on the one that who's caring for him. So we're teaching him just 2 basic skills: to be calm. And we're having some really great results. His bedtime routines are down to 10 to 12 minutes now instead of 2 to 3 hours. Mummy says it's a miracle. It's not really, but by practicing some basic skills. So I've worked with seniors, so I'm accessible for individuals or organizations in the GTA.
Okay, and is there a website, or how do people get in touch with you?
Yes, I'm at www Resiliency for Life, and by phone at 416-229-4655. It's a great life when we're resilient.
So what is it, resiliencyforlife.com?
Yes.
So people can go check that out, and I suppose...
And they can contact me through there at inquiry@Resiliency for Life.
Cool, and I suppose they can learn more about it as well. If
Yes.
they have any questions,
Yes.
they can either check the site out or just get in touch with you.
Absolutely. In our child's program to help kids be more resilient for 3 to 9-year-olds, Imagine Yourselves for sale on the site.
Wow. Okay, great. Michael, any final words? Or
Well, I think that people don't realize how resilient they really are. And so only when I was told that I had cancer and after surgery, and that's the bad news. The worst news is, you've got 3 secondary sites as well. And it was like, okay, time to dig really, really deep and use every adverse thing I've learned from in the past and work forward from it. And I did so well that the psychologist in the hospital said, you're the only one I've ever met like this. You're actually happy, but you got cancer. I said, well, I have cancer, but I still have the rest of my life going on. So I'll focus on getting the best medical care, but focus on moving forward in everything else. So I think that I've experienced that almost everyone can be more resilient than they think they can. So there's a quote by Camus to wrap your interview up. In the midst of winter, I finally found there was in me an invincible summer. And so I would suggest to your listeners, we all have a bigger invincible summer than they know they have. Give us a call.
Thank you. Thanks for coming in. Resiliencyforlife.com.